Last night, the Russians launched 2 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and 117 attack drones, including Shaheds, Herberts, and Talmas drones. The killer cans flew in from Bryansk, Kursk, Oryol, Primorsko-Akhtarsk, Milerovo, and from occupied Crimea. Our air defenders destroyed and neutralized 98 drones. However, there were missile and 19 drone strikes at 11 locations. In the Kharkiv region, the Russians killed 2 people and wounded 9 others, including a child. In Bilye-Koloryaz, an enemy strike near the post office took the lives of 2 pensioners. 1 woman was taken to the hospital. A man and an 8-year-old girl were injured in Chuhuiv. 3 more people were wounded in Velika Babka. When rescuers arrived to extinguish the houses, the occupiers launched a second strike. A drone destroyed the fire truck. The emergency workers survived. 1 person was killed and 7 were wounded in the Sumy region. In the suburbs of the regional center, a drone struck a car. The 24-year-old driver did not survive. The passenger was hospitalized. The occupiers attacked 2 more cars near Bilopilia. 3 people were injured, including 2 police officers who were on their way to work. And around 6 in the morning, a Russian Lancet drone struck the Kyiv-Sumy passenger train. The drone hit the locomotive and pierced the driver's cabin. They miraculously were not harmed. At the time of the explosion, there were about 200 passengers on the train. They were later taken to the final stop. 1 person killed and 6 wounded in Kherson over the past day. Almost all the victims are from the Korabelny district of the city. As a result of a drone strike on a private house, its owner was killed. Another drone crashed into a civilian car. The driver and a female passenger suffered blast injuries. 2 more city residents were wounded during enemy artillery strikes. The number of injured in Kramatorsk, Donetsk region has risen to 10. The occupiers dropped a half-ton aerial bomb on the city center and attacked with drones and artillery. Among the victims are 3 children aged 16, 12, and 2. More than 30 apartment buildings, 5 educational institutions, administrative buildings, 7 shops, and dozens of cars have been destroyed. A resident of the village of Nikonorivka did not survive the enemy shelling. In Kharkiv, the search operation at the site of the Russian terrorist attack has been ongoing for the 2nd day. The day before, a ballistic missile destroyed the entrance of a 5-story apartment building. So far, the deaths of 10 residents have been confirmed, including 2 children. 4 more people are not responding, which means they may be trapped under the rubble. 26 residents of the building were injured. TSN correspondent Yulia Boyko will tell you about their condition and the progress of the search operation.
People, somebody call the police? Please, I need help right now.
How old are you? 11.
1, 2.
These shots captured the first moments after the Russian ballistic missile Izdeli-30 shattered the night silence of Kharkiv. Patrol crews arrived at the scene within minutes. In total darkness, through the rubble and smoke, they rushed to search for those who could still be helped. The enemy struck treacherously in the middle of the night when people were sleeping in their apartments. Those who managed to survive this hell recall every second of that night with horror. People woke up to the walls of their own homes collapsing on them.
I heard the previous explosion. It happened just a few minutes before this one, but it was very powerful. I had already experienced something like this before, so I immediately understood that I needed to take cover. But there's nowhere to hide in houses like these, so only 3 walls saved me, and that's all. And then such a horror happened.
The rescue operation began immediately. One by one, rescuers recovered the bodies of 10 people who had died, among them 2 children with their mothers. A requiem post appeared on the page of the 6th Lyceum. Under the rubble, primary school teacher Olena Hordienko and her 9-year-old son Hordy were killed. The boy was passionate about hockey and had a bright future ahead of him. Also, in the same building, the Russians killed 8th grader Liza and her mother. The search operation has been ongoing for the 2nd day now. Rescuers are working at the limits of their physical abilities, manually sifting through tons of concrete. However, their work is constantly interrupted by the enemy. Due to the threat of repeated strikes and constant air raid alerts, the equipment has to be shut down and people have to go to shelters. As soon as the all clear sounds, they get back to work. Miss Marina has been standing by the ruins for the 2nd day in a row. She watches as rescuers literally dismantle brick by brick what used to be her apartment on the 4th floor. Her building stands right next to the one hit by the missile. Only a miracle saved her. That night, she simply wasn't at home.
A friend of mine who lives here called and told me that something like this had happened. I was there just yesterday. Today I wanted to pick up some things, but today the floor had already collapsed. That's my shelf over there. There's nothing left to take, nothing at all. Well, yes, that's all they found.
Right now, 3 adults remain under medical supervision. All of them are in moderate condition. An 11-year-old boy is still in extremely critical condition. Doctors are doing everything possible to save the child. The life of another 6-year-old boy is no longer in danger. To honor the memory of all those who became victims of this night attack, tomorrow, March 9th, has been declared a day of mourning in Kharkiv. Yulia Boyko, Oleksiy Bugayenko, Kharkiv, TSN 1+1. The occupier has redeployed elite units from the Pokrovsk direction to the south of Ukraine, according to experts from the Institute for the Study of War. It is assumed that in this way the enemy wants to hold back Ukrainian counterattacks in the Zaporizhia and the Dnipropetrovsk directions, or on the contrary, to intensify its own potential offensive there. Experts remind us that the enemy had planned summer operations to capture Kharkiv from the south and east, but the disconnection of Starlink and then the actions of the armed forces of Ukraine thwarted these plans. In the Huliapol direction, there were 12 attacks over the past day, but they yielded no results for the enemy. The occupiers attacked 20 times on the Pokrovsk section of the front. However, deep state analysts say that the armed forces of Ukraine even managed to liberate part of the territory near Udakne, which had previously been in the gray zone. The number of assaults has also decreased on the Lyman section of the front. It is a key area for the Russians, but for now they are mainly attacking Ukrainian logistics using UAVs. However, assault and infiltration actions have significantly decreased, according to the armed forces. Nevertheless, they do not rule out that the occupier may be trying to wear down Ukrainian forces and is accumulating strength before a more powerful strike. Drone sanctions for Russian oil products. Last night, the Armavir linear production and dispatch station in Russia's Krasnodar region caught fire. This facility is important for oil logistics. And judging by the scale of the explosions shared by eyewitnesses, it will be out of operation for some time. At the moment, there is a large fire at the facility which 38 fire engines have been trying to extinguish since last night. However, so far without success. Ukrainian drones also paid another visit to the Kyiv airport in Crimea. Eyewitnesses reported powerful explosions that could be heard many kilometers away. Later, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that there were several locations, and the drones struck a Pantsir S-1 anti-aircraft missile and gun system, a BK-16 boat, and enemy command posts. The occupiers, who are expanding their Rubicon drone unit, want to add another 50,000 enemy crews this year. This will be a disaster for logistics in the combat zones, according to the defense forces. After all, whoever controls it is able to hold their positions. So far, the unmanned systems forces do not have a systematic solution for eliminating enemy pilots. However, more and more units equipped with interceptor drones that shoot down the occupiers' UAVs are appearing on the front line. TSN special correspondent Yulia Karyenko witnessed how they operate in the skies over Kostiantynivka.
This is an interceptor drone from the air defense unit of the 93rd Brigade Kholodny Yar taking off into the sky. The anti-aircraft drone, which is mostly used to shoot down enemy reconnaissance drones, is primarily a small FPV drone, the same kind our pilots use to attack enemy positions. However, it is the pilot's skill and the battery that determine how quickly this drone will chase the enemy in the sky and how accurately it will hit its target. The drone General Chereshnya is flying in search of a target. Using a special program, the pilots see that a Russian Molnya has entered their area of operation. And even though the weather is difficult for flying today, the occupiers are still launching their cheap drones in swarms, hoping that at least one will reach its target. To prevent this from happening, our interceptor units are also circling in the sky.
An enemy Molnya has been detected. There it is. And now we're heading to intercept it.
The enemy Molnya is heading into the air defense zone of a neighboring position, so the soldiers turn the drone around and get ready to prepare another batch for takeoff.
The weather now allows us to do certain maneuvers, meaning we can prepare the drones for launch. The most important thing is to hit the target. So was it hit? Good. The day was not wasted.
This interceptor crew specializes not only in shooting down Russian Molnias, but also enemy fixed-wing reconnaissance drones. Although they are not strike drones, the intelligence they can transmit to the Russians is sometimes more dangerous than a kamikaze drone, say the Kholodny Yar fighters. They show a photo of one of the largest drones these two soldiers managed to destroy.
This is that very same downed Orlan. I'm about 195 centimeters tall. The Orlan is a little longer than I am.
This Orlan cost Russia up to $100,000, but thanks to these warriors, it's now just debris. And for them, this isn't even their top shootdown, the Kholodny Yar fighters joke. They say that at the time when the Russians were massively equipping drones with Starlink, shooting down exactly these kinds of units brought a lot of satisfaction.
What I liked most was when I shot down a Molniya that was still flying with a Starlink. I hit the Starlink directly, right in the Starlink antenna.
And by doing so, I saved my comrades, says the soldier Artem. Here is the moment, captured on the camera of the interceptor drone. Drones with Starlink in the Ukrainian sky created major problems because firstly, they were controlled by an enemy pilot online who could dodge interceptor strikes and fly to any point in the country. Secondly, they were extremely resistant to electronic warfare. After Starlink was disconnected, the Russians no longer have such drones flying. However, unfortunately, there are other types of drones that the occupiers have plenty of, and they are also testing new ones.
We call them Zalukilyanka because when you approach the target, it sees you, well, your interceptor drone, and starts making these wild evasive maneuvers. Usually it dives down.
The Lancet Kamikaze strike drone picks up speed because they are very fast. Their cruising economical speed alone is 110 kilometers per hour.
Not long ago, the occupiers received an upgraded Storm drone according to intelligence. Their distinctive feature is that the drone is capable of carrying up to 25 kilograms of payload, which is several times more than the same Molniya, and therefore more dangerous, the fighters say. Such a drone has not yet been recorded in the skies over Kostiantynivka. However, they are confident it will be shot down as well. Moreover, there are no problems with the means to do the job.
We managed to intercept and destroy most of them.
In a single day, our interceptor pilots shoot down more than 1,500 Russian drones of various types over the front line. These are the figures from the General Staff. And these are millions of dollars that are turned into scrap thanks to these small Ukrainian FPV anti-aircraft drones, which cost at most up to 50,000 hryvnias. So the Russians are constantly upgrading their drone fleet to make their aircraft less vulnerable to being shot down.
The main task is to spot them visually, and then you can catch up, intercept, or somehow ambush them.
Aerial battles in the skies over Kostiantynivka never stop. Over this city alone, up to 5,000 drones are recorded per day. And that really is a huge number because it's with these drones that the occupiers are trying to seize control over this section of the front. Because whoever controls the logistics has the advantage in battle. Yulia Kirienko, Alexander Shian, TSN 1+1.
Ukraine will begin training the countries of the Persian Gulf to shoot down drones. The first group of our experts and military personnel will head to the Middle East as early as Monday. The president of Ukraine announced this during a meeting with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Rob Jetten came to Kyiv for the first time since taking office as head of government 2 weeks ago. This shows that Ukraine remains a priority for the Netherlands. The leaders agreed that The Hague will not only invest in the production of UAVs but will also manufacture them jointly with us. A corresponding statement of intent has already been signed. The parties also discussed the possible transfer of radars from the Netherlands to the front, where they are urgently needed. They also discussed further sanctions pressure on Russia and ways to stop its shadow fleet. Additionally, the parties agreed to launch a special tribunal in The Hague this year to investigate crimes of Russian aggression. The impact of the war in the Middle East on the situation in Ukraine was also addressed. The longer it lasts, the more negatively it will affect us, Zelensky stated. He also announced joint work with the militaries of the Persian Gulf countries.
Of course, this refers to military expertise, and with the appropriate defense capabilities, they will be sent, as I mentioned to you. A lot is being discussed in this dialogue. If we are talking about increasing certain resources, we would very much like this opportunity to be available on both sides. You know what resources we lack, and we understand what resources the Gulf countries lack. So we are also talking about this track. It's still too early to talk about other details. I think next week, when the experts are on site, they will take a look and help because they are coming right away with the capacity to provide assistance.
Black smoke has covered the cities and oil facilities have been burning since the night. Last night, Israel struck Iran's fuel infrastructure. 4 oil storage facilities became targets, as well as a petroleum distribution and transportation center in the provinces of Tehran and Alborz. The smoke and fire could be seen from many kilometers away, so it is likely that the attacks caused significant damage to the facilities. Also today, for the first time, Iran was attacked by the United Arab Emirates. A desalination plant came under attack. The UAE explained that this was a response to attacks on their civilian infrastructure, and they called the strike a warning Last night in the US, Iran was once again urged to surrender because, according to Trump, victory in the war will mean either the complete capitulation of Iran or the total destruction of all their military forces. So the country has to make a choice. In response, Iran called this a dream that America should take with it to the grave. And they promised that they would attack American forces and neighboring countries as long as Iran is being fired upon. So for now, there is no talk of ending the war. Ukraine demands that Hungary immediately return the money and precious metals stolen from Oschadbank's cash couriers, and calls for this act of state banditry and racketeering to be condemned at the European level. This was stated by Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha. On the evening of March 5th, Hungarian authorities detained 7 Ukrainian cash couriers and 2 armored bank vehicles. They were transporting $40 million, 35 million euros, and about 9 kilograms of gold between Raiffeisen Bank in Austria and Oschadbank of Ukraine. According to the Hungarian tax service, they were detained as part of a money laundering investigation. The couriers were released the same day, but Budapest is still unlawfully holding the vehicles and valuables. Oschadbank has stated that they are preparing legal steps to defend their rights. So will this escalate into a full-fledged legal battle in European courts? Or will Budapest back down after the diplomatic outcry? I look forward to your thoughts in the comments below this video, and as always, I invite you to support us by subscribing to the channel. And now I continue with the broadcast. Flags, balloons, blue and yellow smoke. With each exchange, more and more people come out onto the road to welcome the guys returning from captivity. They are not relatives of those released, but people still want to support them. For the last 2 days of exchanges, TSN correspondent Mariana Bukan has been with those who come to greet them. So how do we wait for our loved ones to return? Watch this.
The buses are already coming. The main thing is that the guys are on their way. They are happy that they're coming home, and we are here to welcome them.
These are tears for us. Why? From happiness. Because they're coming to us. Well, they're coming home. They shouldn't be there.
With a small flag from the very first day.
Because we are patriots. We are currently waiting here for our brave boys.
Awesome. Ours are finally home.
In any weather, dropping their work and all their personal affairs, they go out to the highway.
Come on, find it. Oh, great, that's it.
This is Chernihiv region, and on the days of prisoner exchanges, it is adorned with blue and yellow.
No way. These are indescribable.
It's such a celebration for us, but imagine what a celebration it is for them when they arrive and see us.
People come and travel from all the nearest and farthest villages just to show the former captives that they were awaited.
We close up shop and go to greet our warriors.
Oh, I get goosebumps.
Don't even ask them what emotions they're feeling. It's overwhelming. Everyone cries, both them and us. We wave at them, we cry, and they wave back, crying too.
There are those who come out with hope, like Mrs. Natalia, who has been waiting for almost a year for her son who went missing.
I am waiting, believing that he is alive. I believe that he is alive. I wait, I come, I meet. And I keep waiting for everything.
Valentina sees off the ambulances with tears in her eyes. Her husband is also listed as missing.
I am waiting so much for him, my husband, Andriy Volensky. If anyone happens to know anything about him, please do let me know. When the children were leaving in those ambulances, they would wave their little hands at us. Yes, of course, it was nice for them and nice for us too.
Every person who returns from captivity has their own story. Everyone who comes out to meet them also has their own story. Daria brought a photo of her deceased brother with her to the meeting.
The child said 1 + 1. I said, take Uncle Sasha with you, show him. That's why he's with me.
Lyuba is a nurse from the hospital where the released are taken for their first checkup. After a 24-hour shift, she didn't go home to sleep, but came straight here.
When they arrive, they say, we were made to believe so much that nobody here needs us. But when we finally cross the international border and see many local people standing all along the dusty roadside waving their colorful flags, and when complete strangers come out to warmly greet us with smiles, it truly means that we have been deeply awaited and are finally home.
Bohdan is on his way to welcome the guys back. He is a paratrooper. In 2024, near Kharkiv, he was wounded. Both of his legs were amputated. He goes out onto the road to wave to the Ukrainians freed from Russian captivity, just to show, no matter how you return from the war, you are awaited here.
Know that you are truly awaited here. You are not forgotten, and you are certainly not abandoned.
And so, standing like this for hours, waiting for those few seconds when the bus rushes past you, more and more Ukrainians are ready to do it with every exchange, because at that moment, everyone has the same wish.
God willing, may everyone return alive and may all this sorrow end as soon as possible.
Mariana Bukan, Alexander Shayan, Vitaly Ovsyanikov, Victoria Pizmena, TSN 1+1.
A march for women's rights took place in the capital. Several hundred participants gathered for the event. For them, March 8th is not about celebration, but about women's right to safety, dignity, and protection. In particular, this year's demands of the march participants are focused on the rights of servicewomen and support for those who are in captivity. Currently, the Russians are holding at least 2,000 Ukrainian women captive from the temporarily occupied territories. This was stated by Lina Yelmerova during her speech. The whole world knows the story of this 26-year-old Crimean Tatar woman who was illegally detained by the Russians and held in prison for almost 2 years on fabricated charges. The organizers of the event also spoke out against amendments to the Civil Code, which, due to new legislative initiatives, restrict the rights of female citizens, announced Olena Shevchenko, co-founder of the Women's March.
They significantly restrict the rights of women that we currently have and have achieved. That is, the provision allowing marriage from the age of 14. First of all, it still remains. Second, reconciliation. In other words, if a woman in a situation of violence files for divorce, the court is supposed to provide at least 6 months for so-called reconciliation.
It is estimated that well over 16,000 people in the territories currently under occupation, specifically the temporarily occupied territories, have been forcibly abducted and detained by Russian special services and placed in prisons, where they are subjected to brutal torture on a daily basis. More than 2,000 of them are women. And in my opinion, it takes a special kind of courage to declare war on unarmed women. Just imagine.